So good afternoon. Today is the 18th of January, and as you can see, I'm here with Mr. Franks, who is in his little studio up in Edinburgh. Um, the other day, I had a little conversation with Mr. Franks, and it occurred to me that I don't think we've ever had an interview with Mr. Franks on the channel. We never have had one, and without him, really, the channel would never have existed. Um, and I often call the co-founder of the Tweed Jacket Reviews, and that is completely right. There have been a couple of other people who filmed them for me, um, and edited for them, but the sort of house kind of style, the house way that they're done, is very much the creation of the man you see here. And the story of actually how this whole thing came to be is quite the sort of funny one. So, Mr. Franks, would you just mind telling the viewers about kind of how this whole thing got started?
Yeah, well, greetings to everybody. First thing, you were just saying there a minute ago, you might just assume that people won't, apart from that one episode we did with the Capri recently,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I've actually featured. I've probably had a whingy type vocal part to play at some point in reviews, but anyway, it's good to actually come out from behind the camera for once. But yeah, it was 2 years ago, wasn't it? We were doing some event together in Somerset, and then I had a text from you after that asking me about some videography and so on, and had no idea at that point that it would be how many reviews have we done? Maybe 35, maybe 40.
it's more than 40 now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's an awful lot.
Yeah. As a
If you,
couple of years ago anyway, and so
yeah,
when you'd asked me to help out with that, yeah, I don't think either of us had any real kind of clue that we were going to be forging relationships with certain car dealers in certain parts of the Midlands and wherever else we've been. Down to see Big Graham at the Southwest. That was a highlight from last year for me. The air ventilated passenger seat, beautiful.
you very much enjoyed going to Platinum Sanyong and Froome, didn't you? And enjoyed some of the cars. I have to say the C300 Corando, the dark blue one with a beige leather interior, was one
Yeah,
of the highlights of the year. It's a shame that those three videos we did down there at that beautiful location of the land that the golf club owned really haven't done particularly well on the channel, because
is it not?
they're very, very, very well made videos, and the location is beautiful. I
Mm,
think that's some of the best work we've actually done.
yeah,
It just sometimes these things kind of hit the mark, sometimes they don't. It's the thing about putting reviews up on YouTube. That's just the way it goes.
yeah, yeah. The Corando's features. That's the most satisfying feature of any car I've been in the 40 plus that we've done. Graham was a good guy there. I like Graham. He was a big, larger than life type guy. How he actually fitted into those Sangyongs, I've got no idea. He's massive, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think
Big
he's
guy.
I think he's 6'7" or something.
Yeah, he's
In the Tivoli,
massive.
I think he had a seat all the way back, and I did
Yeah,
try to get behind him, but it was ridiculous. But in the pickup truck, it kind of suited him quite well because he's quite tall, and he's quite tall, isn't he? Big chap. Um, yeah, that was great. And then other places we've been to as well in the last couple of years. And I don't think most people know actually how you kind of got started in being a videographer and editor and all that sort of stuff. How did you actually kind of start in that field?
um, short story is I got fed up of working for really bad employers,
Yeah,
so decided to bypass that by setting up a little business myself. And I still I'm in my little home office here, and I still hesitate to say that I've set up a business because I'm not a businessman per se. But yeah, I think the world obviously has changed massively in the last 10 months. where I think probably self-employed, multiple revenue stream type business models are kind of getting more popular. Working from home, that kind of thing. But yeah, the whole thing of videography, I worked in the NHS. Most people won't know this. I worked in physio and exercise in the NHS for the best part of, I don't know, 10 years. And then was made redundant from that role. And then it was just around that time kind of having to reinvent my professional career. And lo and behold, here we are doing car reviews for Lloyd at Vehicle Consulting.
So what other kind of stuff, when you're not actually filming Tweed Jacket reviews and editing them, do you actually do for other clients, for example?
Well, if anyone's interested, you can go onto my website and have a look. But it ranges from short one-off briefs. So, for example, I did a video for Christian Concern. Some of you guys will have heard of Christian Concern. They deal with quite high-profile court cases for people that have lost their jobs because of for beliefs that they have. So I had a job with that. That was just a one-off brief. And then other instances, I might work for a charity for 12 months, taking care of writing and social media and film related stuff. But the big thing, this is why it's been very kind of you, mate, to put stuff into your reviews, is that what I do is multidisciplinary. So it's film, it's photography, and it's writing. So often those things combine very nicely for people who need somebody to look after multiple things. So it ranges from short to long term.
What was one of the trips you've done for your work? I remember the one was it Moldova you went to? That was quite a film that you made over there, wasn't it?
Yeah, Moldova was just a year ago, but Guatemala, Albania. In recent years, I've had the privilege of going there and doing some film work, which has been superb. So it's often seeing very different places. Lots of larders in Moldova, sir.
Yeah, they made them until like 2012, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are loads there.
Everywhere, they were everywhere.
Yeah. And of course, we get to go to the glamorous West Midlands, don't we, as well, quite frequently.
Yeah.
Down to Summit Garage, and we've been over to Essex to see Simon at Langley Prestige and drive his incredibly weird collection of cars.
Was that the Capri guy?
Yeah. You liked that Capri, didn't you?
Oh, I was the only one that really drove it properly that day, wasn't I?
You did drive it properly. I mean, we're not talking sort of Mr. Coleman level quite yet. I mean, that's something else. But certainly
getting accosted in the council car park in, where was that? Where Mr. Coleman just took things fast.
Oh yeah. We shouldn't say exactly where it was, but when we did the Amiga review, which was February 2020, Mr. Coleman's driving on a bit exuberant, and we didn't show it on camera. It was recorded. We didn't show it, and we actually got removed from the place where we were filming. I won't say where it was, and we had to sort of improvise after that. I mean, the day that we filmed those two reviews, the Alpha and the Omega, interesting kind of juxtaposition there of words, but we did both on the same day, and like you've been horrifically delayed by the weather. Getting down to the Midlands, and I don't even know how we actually finished those videos because it was February. We didn't have much we didn't have much light. We didn't have a lot of time, and the weather was so bad that actually in the morning before you were able to arrive, because you were right, I think you'd arrive at like 11 o'clock, and you eventually arrived at 1:30 or something.
Was that the train delayed?
It was awful. Yeah. And we just had to get on with it.
We've always got it done though. We've always got the scheduled reviews done.
Yeah.
And I think that's what maybe some of the viewers don't always appreciate, is that if there is, for example, not as much B-roll as one might like, there are often other factors in the mix, and one of them is almost always the rain.
Yeah, the rain. I mean, even when we were filming in July, which was in Dudley last year, we had some rain, particularly with, I think, the MG6 review. The weather was really bad during that one for some reason. You know, and then we've had loads of things to deal with, even with the Sanyong reviews that were filmed in August. We
Yeah,
actually had one of them that was interrupted by a storm. I think the face of Tivoli that was interrupted by a storm, which is crazy.
yeah,
And the latest one that we had an issue with was the MGHS plug-in hybrid, because we had to switch our plans with like a couple of minutes notice to film that. We were going to film the MG5, but we had to film that straight away. We had literally, I think, an hour and a half to do the whole thing from start to finish, which really is not a lot of time when you've got a car that costs over £30,000 with all the features that it has, and it's got two separate power sources. It's not really enough time to cover that and do a really good job. I mean, I'm very pleased with what we were able to accomplish, but you know, if you look at it very carefully, you'll notice that in the driving around Dudley, the camera is a little bit dark, because we just had to think shove the iPhone 11 in there, which does a massive job. I mean, no, people would not actually notice really that that's not a DSLR, but it just doesn't quite have the same range of exposure as DSLR. And then when we did the driving shots right at the end, you could see all the lights of the car on because the auto lights had come on because it was so dark. And so,
yeah.
you know, we you just can't film loads and loads of interior shots in the dark. It doesn't really work. And we
No.
had the little bits and pieces we were filmed before we were ready with, you know, the insurance and the trade plates on the car and things to take it out. So sometimes you have to film in the most crazy circumstances, whereas other times, like with the Capri, we had 3 hours, 3.5 hours with it.
Yeah, that was a long time with that car, but
Yeah,
it was because we were enjoying driving it, and we used the drone that day as well.
yeah, it was. The weather was really good that day. It was really nice.
Yeah,
The only problem is with that particular one, despite the fact that the Capri is one of the most popular cars on my channel, and like the second most popular video is a Capri video. That video is not really done very well, which you know, always has surprised me a bit, because I thought it was some of the best work we've done. But you know, there we
yeah,
go. We put a lot of effort into that one.
yeah. Well, we enjoyed it.
We did, and you know, there's huge sort of variety, and particularly when we go to see Mr. Coleman and do stuff with him, and you know, the Granada and the Volvo reviews we did in May 2019, they are still some of the sort of most popular reviews on the channel, despite their age. And
Yeah,
you know, getting into the sort of more kind of classic stuff is what I think people really like. Also, the new MG stuff, and you know, MG do have some good cars.
well, the Ford Granada, that was one of the first ones we've done.
Yeah, it's early one.
In one set is like a one bookend, and then you've got the MG5. I mean, you couldn't really get different cars, but they both had the same kind of effect. The MG5, I have to say, was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the MG5 is a surprisingly good car. You know, there's various cars in 2020 that really surprised me that we filmed, and the MG5 was one of them. And
Mm.
you know, but at the end of it, what people don't really realize is we then got all the brochures when we got to the showroom, because it was just so impressive. You know, it doesn't have all the features, but when you look at the price of it compared with a normal estate car that's conventionally powered, and they're about the same,
Yeah,
comparably equipped, which is one of the first times I think I've ever seen that.
yeah,
And you know, it's not the most exciting looking car, but the color was nice, and I gathered the new owner of the car, because that was a demo car that they just sold. He's using it for his work at the moment, and he said he's really enjoying it. So you know, there we go. It's obviously a very practical thing for him to have. But what was the favourite one, do you think, that we've done ever since September 2018 when we started?
my favourite to review.
Yeah, quite a few. I
That's a
know.
difficult question. Yeah, I would say, yeah, probably the Capri. That was superb. I mean, it's
Yeah,
such an iconic car.
yeah,
And it's not just because it's freshest in my mind because we did it most recently, but you appreciated how I drove the MG5, didn't you?
yeah. You stuck it once I introduced you to sport mode. It was totally addictive, and I introduced you to regen braking, and I stuck it on the sort of the top level, and you were doing one pedal driving.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the kind of car that brought a massive smile to your face, which is what driving's all about, isn't it? So yeah, the Capri. But the day that we filmed the Capri was also the day that we basically got some back injuries from that Mini.
I know. I mean,
that was a shocker.
I think if you are a certain sort of size and certain height, a Mini's just not for you. It's just not. I mean, it's a good experience to have. It is fun. The brakes were amazing as well. The brakes are astonishingly good on a Mini, but
Mm.
in terms of actually living with that every day, there's just no way.
Yeah.
There's no way at all. Whereas a Capri, which is a car from kind of a similar era, really. I mean, that's actually got quite a good driving position for a car of that age, whereas the Mini just really doesn't. And it wasn't designed to have one. It was designed to be a little thing you sort of just, roam around the city in, and there's not much in the way of comfort, really.
Yeah.
It was fun, but having a tourist in the front was ridiculous. And when that lorry came behind us, on the bypass, which you can see in the video. The video doesn't really show how close it seemed behind us. When I put my foot down, and just the only thing that happened was the rev counter rose, and the engine just started making a noise, and the speed just was not really climbing. That was terrifying.
The thing is, the little Mini Mayfair is usually used to carrying effeminate men or old grannies or something, whereas with two hulky men in it, it just didn't know what to do with itself.
No, you only got 42 horsepower, so it's no wonder actually that they changed the engine quite soon after they got rid of that 1 litre engine, because it's just the car couldn't really get out of its own way. I know someone who's got a very similar one. Jake from Boswell's has got a similar car. It's a City, not a Mayfair, but I think he would describe the pace of that car as a bit more sedate, which it certainly is.
A bit more pedestrian.
Yeah, it was. It is interesting that we actually have filmed now some really iconic cars.
Yeah.
The Granada, that Volvo 960, that was wonderful.
Mhm.
Certainly the Mini and the Capri, and loads of modern stuff as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people love all of it, and I'm very grateful that actually we've been able to put out all this consistency. Obviously, it's not something we necessarily do to make lots of money, because the channel's not at the stage where it really does that, but we do it because we love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge, and let's hope Dave Valente. Let's hope that
Indeed.
maybe some of these car dealers actually recognize, because this is the other thing that maybe some people don't realize, is that obviously on one hand it's a privilege to be offered the cars to review, but at the same time it is doing a favor for the guys who are trying to sell the cars, and they don't pay you to do it.
No, I don't. No, I don't get paid anything. I mean, I with the Jaguar E-Type, but I know you didn't film it, but you did edit it. I was contacted out of the blue by the New Forest Classic Car Hire place. They didn't pay me anything to do that, and I had the choice what to film. And they had a few cars, and I wanted to do the E-Type. Same thing with Simon Langley Prestige. None of the reviews are in any way sponsored, and one of the great things about Summit Garage is that I can go to John, who's the boss there. He's the dealer principal, and when we get some new stuff in, I can just say, can we come and film it? And he always says yes. And the opinions that we give, even in a situation like that, are genuinely the opinions that we have about what's going on. There are certain things that annoy us, for certain things we found are great, and we're not being sponsored in that way, and that's a nice independent place to be. However, I think the sales for MG being up 40% in 2020, when the car market was down by over 20%, I think it was, a huge amount. I think that sort of shows actually that people do watch these videos and do pay attention to them, particularly the new MG ones, because that's what's the most popular stuff on the channel, apart from the Capri video. So I think actually, there is something to be said for particularly niches, that actually, we are doing our bit to promote these vehicles. I mean, even if the review itself is independent, we're not being paid or anything. And so, something in the future is, which we're looking at, is when we
Yeah.
actually are able to do these reviews again, and you know, at the moment we're not able to do any reviews of any kind at all, is that actually, you know, if people want us to make more of them, we
Yeah.
can actually, you know, have some sponsored videos just simply because we can get more of them out there. Due
Really.
to the sort of logistics of the and the cost of them generally, we have to make them very, very slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
I
it,
would
really.
love to, I would love to see, because it's a relatively small amount of cash for a dealer in the context of what they're trying to sell to produce something. So it'd be interesting just to see if some of the guys cotton onto that a little bit. But the other thing to say quickly as well is what you've said a number of times, which is that with all that's going on at the minute, it is therapeutic, like, and it's valuable to have. You might say, there are more important things going on in the world at the minute. Well, of course, but at the same time, we all need to have therapeutic interests and, you know, just hobbies, whatever you want to call it, recreation. And when this type of stuff is that, isn't it? And I think there's great value in that for people watching the reviews, getting stuck into the community, the comments, sharing opinions, whatever. So perhaps that's going to be more valuable moving forwards.
Certainly, the reviews on the channel can be a distraction for people at the moment. I know there are some people who are on furlough, some people don't have work at the moment, and some people are working, you know, virtually all the time. People, particularly people in the health service and supermarkets and a lot of other associated professions like that, essential jobs in that way. And you know, always we all do offer some level of kind of relief from a lot of it because the Tweed Jacket Reviews was never intended ever to not be funny. It's always supposed to be funny and a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's always supposed to be a bit like that because the process of actually reviewing a car and talking about specifications of facts and figures is
Yeah.
ultimately quite boring. If you just do it straight, there's not really an awful lot of kind of value in it for me. More of it is actually that you know, you're visibly enjoying yourself and you create something that actually is a bit different. And I think with the
Mm.
background that you have, which isn't anyway to do with the automotive sector at all, sort of putting that into a lot of them, making them just a little bit sort of weird and kind of sort of out there because you have to somehow stand out. I think on a YouTube channel, you somehow you have to. It has to be a bit different. And I
Mm.
think if you haven't been aware of this already, and you know you look at the reviews that have been done, particularly the ones that Mr. Franks has done, and then Matt does a great job. Jake, who did the last one before Christmas, did a great job. But ultimately, the ones that we always prefer to do are the ones that we do together because we know what we sort of want to do because this is how we started the channel.
Yeah.
We kind of always had that vision, and it's not gone away. And you know, people say, "Well, why don't you, you know, make Tweed Jacket reviews on your phone?" It's like I don't want to make Tweed Jacket reviews on my phone. This is why we have other types of review for cars that are a bit cheaper because Tweed Jacket reviews is a special thing, and it requires a sort of special eye and decent equipment to make it, and decent editing, which is not something I can do myself particularly
Yeah.
well.
And
So
yeah.
that's why we do it, and that's why, you know, we sort of don't put out as many as possibly, you know, you imagine we could, because we
Yeah.
want to keep the quality high. Um, and some will say, well, some of them aren't very good. It's like, well, sometimes it's myself to blame for that. Sometimes we have difficulties in doing them. The MGHS plug-in hybrid, for example, a lot of people said there's not enough insert shots in it. The reason there's not enough insert shots in it is because we didn't have enough time. We didn't have a daylight. It just the way that sometimes it happens. But overall, I think I'm very pleased with what we've been able to achieve over the last almost 2.5 years. It is now. And some of them were just an absolute laugh. The Peugeot 207, which was possibly one of the worst cars I've ever driven, was a complete laugh. And a lot of people don't like it, the video, but we had the best time ever doing that. It was hilariously funny doing that.
It's not with that. It's not. It's easily the worst car. I mean that or the Honda Jazz that I think that car was overtaken by.
I know that was that was just ignominious. It was pretty bad.
The Peugeot being ignominiously overtaken by
I
the
know.
disgrace that is the Honda Jazz.
I know, but the Nissan Duke was really bad as well. That was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it was
stressful for other reasons.
It was the thing is about that one is that we really kindly offered it by somebody I knew, and the thing is she absolutely loves that car. She thinks it's brilliant, and Nissan sell a lot of those type of cars. I don't quite understand why. You know, when you can buy, you know, a Tivoli or an MG ZS or something like that, but I find like a better car for less money. But Nissan must be doing something right because they shifted loads of those, and you know, obviously we had to be quite careful after that as to what cars we actually featured on the channel. And if we were going to say things like that, which I think we were bizarrely quite balanced about it. You know, there are some things about that car that really are quite good, but there are some things that aren't good. And after that, we just had to be careful about what we selected. About, you know, if I was going to say things like that the person who owned it wasn't going to get upset. And that's something that is really, you know, you've got to bear that in mind when you're actually filming. You want to be unbiased, you want to be fair, but at the same time, you don't want someone to get upset about the car like that. It's not really on. So we never after that kind of did anything where we'd be as critical as that. Knowing that, you know, the owner might you know, be sensitive about it. So you love these things as you go along. You really do. And there is comedy value to be had from something that's really bad. Equally, there's a limit to these things. But anyway, I think probably it's probably most of our time for our little discussion today.
Yeah.
I do hope that you've all found this to be interesting. Because you know Mr. Frank doesn't get to be in front of a camera too much. He's possibly been on the channel twice of all. I mean, once was a birthday greeting in 2019 for my birthday. The other one was actually with the Capri, where he takes the car right at the end. He's done a bit of voice stuff when we've had to, you know, drive cars powered by the forbidden fuel. But that's about it. Yeah, as I say so many times, the very first video on the channel, the first review we did, the diesel joke was in there. It really is there. It's always been there on the channel. It's not something that's sort of developed. It's there.
The Toledo.
Yeah, first video.
Yeah. Well, this autumn I'll be replacing the Skoda Fabia estate. So it'll be interesting to see what conversations happen between now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mr. Franks, would you just mind giving the viewers the details about how to, you know, get in touch with you about anything they might need from your services and what sort of website stuff you have now?
That's very kind. Thank you, mate. Yeah, just if anyone is needing film photography, maybe some of you've got businesses where you need social media content, whatever, just go to nicholasfranks.com.
There we are. That's easy enough to remember, isn't it?
It is.
Right, sir. Well, I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you all ever so much indeed for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and obviously visit Mr. Frank's website if he can be of assistance to you. Obviously, the work that he does, you can watch it all in a lot of the Tweed Jacket Reviews playlist, and he's got a little figure there to remind you to do that.
There's a prize for anybody that can tell us who that is.
I better not say. I think I know who it is, but I'm not going to say.
So it'll also prove how many people actually watched to the very end of this video.
Yeah.
I'll have to think of a prize now.
Yeah, I'm not a lifetime supply of oxygen, sir, because that's not quite what we were going for. Anyway, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Franks. and hopefully
Pleasure.
we'll be back filming some more reviews before too long. Okay, then. Bye, everyone.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.